Alexander Mercouris, Jeffrey Sachs. What should we talk about? BRICS, neocons, oil price production cuts, Ukraine, Russia. Let's get started. There's lots to cover.
Well, why don't we start with BRICS? Because I understand that Professor Sachs has just been to Beijing. And of course, there's been a whole troop of people go to Beijing. We've had Prime Minister Sanchez there. We're going to have President Macron of France there. Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, is there. I believe there are more European visitors heading towards Beijing. But of course, Jeffrey Sachs has been there on the spot, gauging the mood in Beijing. And to my mind, the fact that all these important people are going to Beijing, in its sense, tells its own story. It says that Beijing is the place where a lot of decisions are being made. And I don't know what your feelings about that are, Professor Sachs, and what the mood was, what you found there.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, actually, this stream of delegations going. I think it is the new shape of the world. I found the Chinese leadership to be in good spirits, I would say, not very calm in a real Chinese dignified way. I had a chance to see the new premier in action, met with several of the cabinet ministers at a 3-day gathering of business leaders and some academics and so on. And the mood is actually, very calm, rather insistent that the world needs to get itself right, and that it is not right now, but that China's view of things, can push developments forward. The foreign minister spoke very well about China creating a new multilateralism, about China forging new expanded relations all over the world. The economics team, which I met, was rather optimistic, actually. This is an expanding economy this year, and the Asian Development Bank just issued its report increasing its forecast for Asian growth overall for the nearly 50 countries that they track. So Asia looks very different from our view, from the North Atlantic region, which is in crisis, unpopular leaders everywhere, a lot of economic turmoil, a banking crisis, geopolitical crisis. The view from China is really quite different and very impressive in that regard. I think you're on mute, Alexander.
Oh, I am.
There you go. Yes.
Since you met the economics team, I was just going to say, ask this question, because one of the things you read a lot here, in the British media at least, is that there's been a sort of regression in Chinese economic policy, that they're taking a much more interventionist line, that they're going back on some of the reforms that they carried out. Do you get any of that impression at all? I mean, I haven't seen myself any sign of this from afar, but that is what people are saying. I mean, it's a change of direction.
Look, the message is quite the contrary, which this was actually a gathering in which the Chinese leadership kept emphasizing, we're open for business, we're reopened after COVID, but we're open geopolitically for all regions of the world. I think the only place where you see that taking place is not in broad economic strategy, but in reaction to the U.S. technology attempts to choke China on advanced semiconductors and other high tech. And what they're doing there is reacting in the sense of saying, we're going to achieve our own self-sufficiency in these key technologies in a relatively short period of time. And I'm pretty optimistic that they will, because there's a long history of the U.S. Attempts to contain technology. Technology doesn't stay contained the way that the U.S. wants. You can go back to, actually the atomic bomb, where the U.S. said, we'll have a monopoly on this for 30 years. And it turned out to be 3 years. And this is how technology is. There are a lot of smart people. China's mass producing engineers of the top rank as well. But that's the only place where I would say, you have this kind of reaction. Otherwise, China's expanding the Belt and Road Initiative. It's absolutely expanding its economic relations with the Middle East, we know, with Latin America. And my feeling is one of the most pivotal things for us to watch is China-India relations. And I think that those are going to improve markedly, actually, in the coming months and years. And that may be the most important bilateral relationship, actually, in the world. The two giant countries. India's growing quite rapidly now on the basis of digitalization. And if the two, which I think they have every reason to, say, we're basically in the same position trying to create a space in a multipolar world, that will be a very big deal. And I got the sense both in China and in India that there's pretty deep recognition of that reality.
Because it's, I think, fair to say that there have been periods. There was a period just after India gained independence and China, the Communist Party came to power in China, when there was in the 50s, when India and China were on very good terms, and actually were working together very effectively on international affairs. So this would, in a sense, be a reversion to this. Is this going to happen because it's rather positive that they feel that they need to do this because it's in their joint interests, or is it a negative because they feel that there are pressures on them that they need to resist, and that means coming to terms with each other?
I think it's because it's absolutely natural that there should be cooperation. And the one thing that, hinders it is actually border disputes in the high Himalayas that have no major significance for either country at all. I don't want to completely dismiss them, but they can work out pragmatically that is not any basis at all for derailing what should be extremely important economic ties. Just straight trade and technology ties should be very important. But then all the geopolitics, that they both absolutely see eye to eye that we need to move past a Western-led world, which is exactly what's taking shape before our eyes these weeks and months. That by itself would be sufficient also to say we